Captain Vizcarra will now give his retirement remarks.
You know, typical Navy retirements usually has a ceremony like this near a very large body of water, like an ocean. Very large gray ships and aircraft and flags draping as the present backdrops. 30 years ago, I would have never have guessed that I would be retiring from the Navy right here in the middle of landlocked University of Missouri, with not a Navy base in sight, and in fact not a Navy base in the entire state of Missouri. But the most important part of being in the Navy is being around the people that make up the Navy and the Marine Corps. And in that regard, I am surrounded by the best and the brightest that the Navy and Marine Corps have to offer. These University of Missouri NROTC staff members that you see up here, and the midshipmen, they put their heart and soul into their objectives, and that is to produce quality officers for the Navy and the Marine Corps. It's a very challenging but gratifying duty, and they do an exceptional job for our next generation officers for the United States Navy and Marine Corps. Using their collective fleet experience and total devotion to service, they instill the same sense of dedication to this next generation. I cannot say how humbled I have been serving with these professional officers, non-commissioned officer gunning, and top-notch civilians that make up the University of the Missouri NROTC staff. I'm also quite proud to be sharing this day with the midshipmen, and these in particular, because as this marks the end of their very first week in the Navy, it marks my very last week in the Navy, so we share that, and we have that in common. So today, as I finish a lengthy military career spent assuring for our country's national security and way of life, I can't help but look back on how much our lives have changed and progressed in the quick 30 years that I've been in. In 1984, the minimum wage was $1.60 an hour. A new car was $6,000, and a gallon of gas was $1.10. U.S. population was barely 230 million, and our Navy at the time was going to be 600 ships under the Reagan Navy. Computers were large machines that took up entire rooms and played absolutely no significance in our day-to-day lives, and the telephone was this magical little plastic apparatus mounted on the kitchen family wall where you'd have to take turns to get off the phone so others could use it. The method of communication from one's family to the ship, to the deployed, was the old-fashioned handwritten letter. It was mailed to the aircraft carrier in our case, and it might have taken up to 30 days to get a piece of mail. It was not uncommon to receive your letter completely out of sequence, and it might have even gotten lost altogether. And when you did receive it, it was fairly dated information. I would have never dreamed that the F-14 that my brother and I flew for years would be retired long before I did. And today our sailors and Marines get their email and they get the Skype. I actually finished up my career flying the latest generation of the Super Hornet, the F-18, and I'm sure that aircraft will be flying for years and years into our future, taking care of our national security interests. So while technology has changed our lives and our way of doing business in the Navy, the one constant that remains unchanged is the most important aspect of our Navy, and that is the people. The people that make up our national armed forces. I stand here today with great pride as I reflect on my own family's military legacy as devoted professional military men with the presence of my father, Victor, and my brother, Mark. Between the three of us, we have a combined 75 years of military service. I would like to thank my father, Victor, for providing me and my brother with a sense of service. He was a perfect role model. He gave us the motivation to follow his lead as a professional military officer. He was a great role model during our nation's ugliest time. He served in Vietnam, a time when our honorable young men fought bravely, died, sacrificed, and those lucky enough to return home were greeted by an ungrateful nation whose many citizens had only disdain for these men's sacrifices. Today I'm happy to report that they are regarded as heroes, as they rightly should be, but they weren't back then. Americans are grateful to today's armed forces, so in that regard we have made considerable progress. Another important role model to me is my older brother Mark, who I followed into the Navy just a few short months after he joined in 1984. Not many brothers can say they got to flown Navy fighter aircraft together, and I don't mean at the same, but in the actual same aircraft we've flown together in the F-18 and the F-14. And we did it on more than one occasion. And if you want to buy me a drink afterwards, I can tell you the most memorable flight we've ever had together. It was quite a story. He and his family have endured the same sacrifices, and I wish to acknowledge his decades of service here today as well. I would like to thank my mother, who is for supporting all of us through extended deployments to combat zones, taking on the role of both parents while my father served in Vietnam for years and multiple deployments, and for supporting her sons as we pursued serving our country through multiple deployments as well. My sister, Boo Boo, that's her nickname, of course. Boo Boo couldn't be here today, but she is with us in spirit. She's always provided unending love and support through all of our careers. Finally, my own family, my daughter, Victoria, we just dropped off last week in college, so she can't be here with us today. My son, Nick, who is here. It's not always easiest to be the son and daughter of a career officer. It means a lot of separations. I've missed more than one Christmas and more than one birthday. Life was full of pack-up and moves and changing schools, leaving friends, and having to find new ones, having to prove yourself over and over again. I thank them for being perfect kids that made my life and their mothers worth living. Finally, my lovely bride, Sherry, who endured all the same sacrifices, but much more the stress, covering both responsibilities with my prolonged absences. The years I spent out at sea. She bought and sold our houses. She led the wife support groups, and she was an all-around great cheerleader in my career, and it would not have nearly been successful or satisfying without her being a significant part that she had played in it. All of these duties are common amongst Navy wives and Marine Corps wives, especially senior officer wives. And what I'll remember most of our times in the Navy aren't those stressful, turbulent times and the exciting meeting up after extended separations on crews in exotic places all over the world, sneaking her on board the aircraft carrier in Hawaii when I had the duty one night, before you could have women on the aircraft carrier, but she managed to sneak her on board and she spent the night. Not too many women can claim that they have actually flown and landed on the carrier, but my wife was able to do that through my boss, the admiral at the time. He brought all the CO's wives out on the aircraft carrier and he flew them out, so she was able to trap and take off on the aircraft carrier like we were. Traveling all over the Pacific and experiencing different cultures, we all tend to remember the good times, and much more so than the bad times. I thank you for being flexible and being a fun partner as we enjoyed our many adventures and frustrations as a Navy family. Thank you very much to all my family. For my mentally, have faith in yourselves and your sailors and your Marines, and you will succeed. It is sad for me to be leaving you in our Navy today, but the world is a different place today than it was in 1984. And to quote General MacArthur again, old soldiers never die, they just fade away. So as I leave you today, I close my military career and I fade away. God bless this university and the students studying here, and God bless our armed forces, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.